Hello and welcome to Chapter 6, Supporting I.O. Devices. Now, in this chapter, you're going to learn everything that you need to know about all the ports that are connected to the PC. So it's a good chapter when you are deciding on purchasing either a laptop or a desktop and what kind of I.O. devices it's going to be able to support. All right, so pay attention. Take good notes if you need to, beyond the notes that I'm going to ask you to submit for homework, right? All right, so let's get started. Here's the very first thing I want you to write. I want you to write just these bullet points, the 8 bullet points, what you need to know about I.O. devices. Number 1, they can be internal and external. Internal, they could be sitting in a PCI slots, or external, maybe connected to a USB drive. Number 2, every device has to be controlled by a device driver, a software that is installed on your operating system or run it. Now, some device drivers may have, the operating system may already have the software for it. So when you plug it in, it runs automatically. That's plug and play. Or you may have to install it. You can download it from the manufacturer's website, or you get it on a CD when you purchase the device. Visit the manufacturer's site whenever you need any help. So if there's any problems whatsoever, go to the manufacturer's website and they can definitely help you. And they have supports to help you troubleshoot any problems that you might have. Some device needs applications to use, like a scanner or a printer. So you run the application that can help you print or scan your devices. A device is not faster, will never be faster than the slots you put it in. So if you put it in a very slow PCI slot or a very old USB 1 slot, it might be very slow. It's always a good idea to use the administrator account to install the devices, update the device drivers whenever you need it, and install one I.O. device at a time. All right. And by the way, when you update the devices, how do you update the device drivers? You always go to the device manager. So that your device manager, also write that down. It's very important. It is your primary Windows tool for managing all the hardware. So just go into the search on Windows down here and type device manager. In the control panel, you'll be able to get to it. All right, it lists almost all the installed hardware devices and drivers they use. For example, printers may use, and many USB drives are not listed in the device manager. Using the device manager, you can disable or enable devices too, update drivers, uninstall a device, undo device, undo a driver update. That's a rollback, right? So that's very important. This table is also a good reference table to take note of all the different ports and what their maximum speeds are, right? So keep an eye on all of these. So you have the Thunderbolt, the latest and the greatest, Thunderbolt 3. It's like a USB connection, USB-C. It has a Thunderbolt on top of it, 40 gigabits per second, right? It needs a USB-C connector. USB 3.2 can give you up to 20 gigabits per second, right? That also needs a USB-C connector. We'll see how they look in a few seconds. So these are good. This is a good table to keep track of when you are purchasing either a laptop or a desktop. All right, so here are the difference. Here is the different types of connectors. The USB, for example, USBs. Well, let's talk about the USBs, the Universal Serial Bus. There's the 3.2 and 3.1. Those are the high ends. You can get up to 4 gigabit, 20 gigabit with the 3.2. They use a USB-C, which is the thinner end. You can have up to 127 USB devices connected in a daisy chain on one USB port. Imagine that. It has 4 wires, two for power and for data. They are hot swappable too. So if you put your flash drive and you take it out, no problem. You're not going to lose any of the data. USB-C don't have any specific orientation, by the way. So this very thin, you can flip them up and down. It doesn't matter. These will do have specific orientation. The old USB connectors, right? These guys right here. Okay. All right, so that's that. These are if you have these, and my laptop has only the USB-C connectors, so I have to get an adapter to use the old USB drives, but that's okay. They're not that expensive. There's plenty of them around. All right. Anyway, let's talk about videos and video cards, the connectors, and the ports. Okay, so when we get to video cards, you have the VGA, the old VGA, the blue 15-hole ports in it. It transmits only analog signals. They're red, green, and blue. Then you have the digital video interface, DVI, transmits analog or digital. It can have a maximum of length of 15 meters. Then you have the DVI-D. Take a note of this, by the way. This is the digital and analog. And if you have the 4 extra holes, then you have only digital. So if you look at back of your video card, and if it has only this, typically they have this and they have the old VGA, depending on the monitor. If your monitor is digital and you have this connection, that's probably the best way to go. Use the DVI-D connector. All right, and here's all the cables and how they look. All right, then we have the DisplayPort. Okay, the DisplayPort is designed to replace the DVI, and transmits digital and video and audio as well. But the most widely used instead is the HDMI. The HDMI transmits both digital, video, and audio, and was designed to be used in home theater equipment. So this is the most widely used when you're connecting your all of your home devices, DVD players, and whatever, even from your computer connected to your TV, you use HDMI cables. All right, moving on. Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is a multi-purpose connector used for high-end displays. So please write that down. Thunderbolt is a multi-purpose connector used for high-end displays, external storage devices, and to charge powers for smartphones and laptops. So you can have data up to 4 gigabits per second for Thunderbolt 3, but it needs a USB-C. For Thunderbolt 2, you get about 20 gigabits per second. There is the eSATA port, which is used for connecting external drives. So if you're going to purchase an external drive to back up your data, which is highly recommend, get an eSATA port. Make sure that your system has an eSATA port, and it can connect. You can get a very good transfer rate, and you can back up your data very easily. You can get a nice 2 or 2 terabyte hard drive where you can offload all the data from your SSD laptop, for example, to an SSD hard drive external using the eSATA. All right, the Lightning connector is an Apple-specific connector for its mobile devices. RG6 is the coaxial cable that is used for cable TV. Having replaced the older, thinner RJ59 cable, which is hardly ever used. You got the RS-232 cable, RS-232 on old desktops. The USB has replaced this, but they still might have them, by the way. We have them in school on desktops. If you look in the back of this is the COM1 ports. All right, so let's talk about installing I/O devices. I want you to write down those 4 steps. Number 1, read the manufacturer's documentation. Make sure that the drivers are compatible with the operating system that you have. So if you have an old Windows 7 and you bought a new whatever I/O device and it only works on Windows 10, for example, so you might have an issue. Make sure that you have the right driver. If not, download it from the manufacturer's website. Make sure that the motherboard ports are enabled in the BIOS. So you remember, you can always disable some of the ports on your PC. For example, you can disable all the USB ports because you don't want anybody plugging in anything into the USB ports. You can disable all of that in the BIOS and put a password in there, right? To make sure that because a lot of USB flash drives, attackers can put a script on those USB drives, plug them into your system. They can steal your password or install a virus on your system, right? So if your PC is going to be used by someone else, that's something that you don't trust. That's something that you should think about. All right. And the 4th thing you should worry about, you should know about when you're installing the I/O device is install the drivers and plug in the drive itself and test it. Make sure that it works. All right. So mouse and keyboards, I think those are pretty straightforward. You got the PS2 connection in the back. Let's move on. Let's talk about replacing the keyboard and the pad on the laptop. So follow the documentation of the laptop. It's just a couple of screws in the back. Once you unscrew them, the keyboard should come out immediately. Very easy. There's plenty, there's very good videos on YouTube that you can do this, by the way. The barcode reader, it could be wired or wireless. This is used to scan barcodes on products. And again, it can be wired or, wireless. You have the card readers. Sends information to the computer through a serial connection, USB connection, lightning connection, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, or a stripe reader wedge mounted on a keyboard like this. You've probably seen these somewhere. A wireless card readers uses Bluetooth as well, right? You have the signature pads. You've probably seen these as well. Biometric devices, webcams, touch screens, right? And virtual reality headsets. All right, I'm going to stop right here and we'll continue with video 2 of chapter 6 soon. So please write down whatever I told you to write down and submit that as evidence that you have watched the video. And I'll see you on part 2.